All right, let's get some reaction now from EFF Member of Parliament, Nazier Paulsen. Mr. Paulsen, good evening to you, and thank you very much for your time. Let's talk then about the EFF's concern about the South African Rugby Union, which it is reported to have agreed to hand full control of its rights to this particular entity that sits somewhere in the United States. What is the party's position tonight?
Well, firstly, we have serious reservations about the national rugby as a whole. But when it comes to the deal between Ackerley Sports Group and their purchase of 20% stake in SARU's commercial rights company, you know, for 20%, they get to control everything commercial, from sponsorship, broadcasting, events, branding, and licensing. So despite having a minority stake, they will have a majority of the members on the commercial rights company. They would be having 3 voting members, as well as the chairperson. Out of 7, SARU will have the other 3. So they will have a majority stake. And it's nonsensical because in 2022, New Zealand Rugby sold a 6% stake worth 1.5 times what we are selling a 20% stake for. And when New Zealand sold that 6% stake, they retain control over the brand and the commercial side. So, you know, when it comes to the national rugby brand, you must remember the Springbok emblem is still remnant of an apartheid era. And this is something that has to be decided upon, debated, and I think everyone should give input as to what the brand for South African national rugby should be.
Yeah.
I mean, it is nice to have Bambi as an emblem, but I mean, rugby is something that's physical and strong. And Springboks, by nature, are very clumsy creatures.
Let's talk about that Springbok emblem. As you say, This is a national rugby brand, but more for us as a nation, this should be a national asset. Isn't that what should concern most South Africans, that a national asset is possibly up for sale?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But why I fully agree with you. It's a national asset. So why should few people decide? And, you know, as we've seen when the latest international games in the, you know, very few ordinary South Africans, especially African and colored communities, could attend because it's been seen as an elitist and only for a certain sector of society. And I think that is where the conversation should be, as opposed to this national brand becoming a global brand which will go and make lots of money for a few people. We want rugby to be accessible to everyone. Everyone must be able to go and watch and feel proud about their national team. And there are people that have, after 30 years of democracy, there are people that have never managed to go and watch the national team live at a stadium. So those are the things we should be looking at as to how this national brand can become more of a national asset, as opposed to being an asset that will be controlled by some American company who would have every control of it, from broadcasting, events, branding, licensing. And when it comes to broadcasting, it goes to the highest bidder. So tomorrow there was a meeting scheduled, a special general meeting where all the member unions would have gone and voted on this process. But thankfully, the mascot minister for sport has asked them to postpone it, subject to his discussion. And we would want to influence the minister and tell them that the focus in rugby is misdirected. They should look at how this brand can become more acceptable and accessible to the majority of South Africans.
Mr. Paulsen, One of the editorials I read today
Please,
on this particular deal, one of the last lines there is something that really sat with me, and it says, and I quote directly from that piece now: "The Springboks belong to all of us. We should accept nothing less than full transparency from SARU." Who should be asked difficult questions of as we sit here tonight, if indeed this deal does go through?
I fully agree, and before there's full transparency, this deal is off, and the only reservation I have about that statement is we have now assumed that the Springbok is the brand and the symbol of South African rugby, whereas that is a debate that still has to take place, and I think it's long overdue that we should be debating as to whether the brand stand, just as we have decided that other symbols of apartheid is made away with. The brand, singing the stem at our sports events, these should all be revisited. It's uncomfortable for the majority of South Africans.
Nazier Paulsen.
Although we love rugby, and it's nothing against the sport. We love the sport. I mean, I'm wearing my club rugby track, one of the oldest rugby clubs in Cape Town on the Cape Flats, and just so happens we also have a red tracksuit, so it sits well with me. So these are, and you know, the vast majority of rugby clubs in the Western Cape, especially in Cape Town, have reservations about, you know, they would have felt more excited if the sports symbol was something that was more acceptable to South Africans. Remember in 1974, when the Lions toured South Africa and they were going to play a non-white team, the government said that non-white team cannot be called Springboks, and they refer to themselves as leopards. So now I think I'm beginning to, the brand of having a black leopard on our national sports kit is beginning to grow on me. And I think I will make a strong argument within my organization that we've chosen in 1974 that we are leopards. Let us stick with that.
Yeah, it's a discussion that, as you say, it's got to be had as a nation. I want to thank you very much for your time tonight, Nazier Paulsen.
Thank you very much.
And I agree with you wholeheartedly that I think we have all become a rugby-mad nation, and therefore anything that touches this sport should be a discussion by the entire country. Thank you for your time.